So, Ndadzo, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
So, you are founder and CEO of GraceNineteen. What is GraceNineteen?
GraceNineteen offers investments and lending solutions in the residential property market in South Africa. The focus now is on renter deposit loans and renter deposit investments. We aim to also keep supporting tenants within our financial products to get into their right rental homes and continue to support them until they become first-time property owners.
So, I'm a tenant or I'm a potential tenant. How exactly does GraceNineteen assist me?
If you're a tenant and then you don't have money to pay for the rental deposit, so you can come to us and then we can lend you money to pay for your rental deposit. But obviously, you want to pay for the rental deposit and make sure that your rental deposit is also safe. So that's where we can also offer you the rental deposit investment product. When you have our rental deposit investment product, it's all transparent, it's also safe. You don't have to worry about being in a situation where you didn't get your rental deposit back, or you're experiencing delays on your rental deposit, or you're not earning adequate interest on your rental deposit, because our rental deposit investment product protects you from that angle. But it also protects the landlord. So from the landlord's perspective, they don't have to worry about where they're going to invest the rental deposit in such a way that they are compliant with the Rental Housing Act. So we also assist from that perspective.
That's actually really helpful, because I know of many instances where people have complained that they've had unfair deductions or that they didn't even get their rental deposits back. So what made you think of this idea? Did you have an experience, a similar experience?
I had like a few issues where I felt like my rental deposit was mistreated when I was still renting. And yeah, so when it happened the second time, I just wanted to learn more about it. And yeah, so when it happened the second time, actually it was by luck, because that's when, so my landlord told me that they don't have money to refund my rental deposit. They're having financial issues and all that, but they were good people to me, so I was not really worried about it. I just said that when you have the money, you refund it back. And then a few days after that, that's when I read an article on the Rental Housing Act. So when I read that article, I was like, oh, this is interesting. But instead of going back to my landlord and say, but this is what the Act says, so I just started digging deeper. And at that point, for me, it felt like there was a need for an independent rental deposit management institution in South Africa. And yeah, that prompted the start of GraceNineteen.
So what does the Act say? So your landlord should have never spent your money to begin with.
Correct, yeah. So the Rental Housing Act says when a landlord receives a rental deposit, so they're supposed to take that money and invest it in a separate investment account, meaning that the landlord's financial affairs should not mix with the tenant's rental deposit money. It's just to protect the tenant, because if the money gets used for something else, then at the end of the lease, the tenant will not have anything to receive from the landlord as a refund of their rental deposit.
So is this something you always wanted to do, going into business?
I come from like an entrepreneurial background, so I wouldn't say like I grew up saying that I'm gonna be like a business person or start like a business one day. It was just me, like I think trying to create something that I thought needed to be solved. So I mean, just to create a company that I thought could help like people to not come across maybe some of the issues that I experienced as a person.
So tell me, who inspires you the most?
I'd say my mom inspires me the most. Mostly from, I think it's just how we grew up. So she always believed that, if you're a person, you must be persistent in life, in whatever you do. So I grew up from that kind of a background. My mom's side of the family was very entrepreneurial and very persistent in what they did. They also wanted to teach us hard work and all those kind of things. So seeing the things that she sort of managed to achieve in her life, and the weird things also. So for an example, when she was staying in Joburg with my dad, so she approached my dad after a few years of being around. So she approached my dad and say, what do you think? I think we should go home because at home she said like, let's go home. And because she feels like when they're at home, they can make more money than what they make this side. But I think she knew that maybe being around Joburg was limiting her potential. So she just wanted to go home and start like creating like a few businesses that side, and it worked out for them. So lucky my dad listened.
That is so interesting. Most people actually move out of which different provinces and come into the cities, and she actually thought the opposite.
I think that's what we should do sometimes as people. So your mind and your creativity could work in one area and maybe not in other areas. So I think it's important to see where we are most creative, where we are most impactful, and seek to be in those places.
So what impact do you hope to see GraceNineteen make?
I think mostly you want, with what we are creating at GraceNineteen, there's an element of social impact that we aim to bring, or that we are already seeing coming through, which is the financial literacy side, through our investment solutions. I think, usually when you're starting out your life, you don't really have money to spare aside and invest and all that. So, but you are required to pay a rental deposit. So to some people, the rental deposit becomes the first real investment that they have. And we hardly think of the rental deposit as an investment, from a tenant's perspective. It just feels like that money that you pay and then you hope that you get it back. You pay it and then you never get to see it again and all those things. So what we have created like something where tenants can start thinking of rental deposit also as part of their investment portfolio. And the nice thing about it that everything is transparent in terms of what we have created. So at any given point in time, as a tenant, or also your landlord, and can also log into the platform, see how much money you originally invested, how much interest you have earned on that money, and hopefully that can inspire people to sort of continue the investment mentality and start investing more on top of that rental deposit. So yeah, and then on the lending side, it's all about financial inclusivity. We know in South Africa that when you don't have money to pay for the rental deposit, you may not have a place to stay, so or you may not stay into a place that is more convenient for you, maybe closer to work and all that. So we sort of help people by bringing this inclusivity where you can easily secure a lease agreement through our rental deposit loan product.
It is one of those things, out of sight, out of mind, so you don't really think about it. But tell me, if I'm already living in a rented property, am I still able to access the GraceNineteen platform, and how would I do that?
Yeah, so if you have already paid your rental deposit to your landlord, and you come across us and you feel like maybe you may want to start utilizing our platform, you can. I think that's a conversation you can start having with your landlord, just to, firstly, just ask them, maybe they have kept the deposit in a safe place, but just ask them, where your money is invested, how much interest you've earned. The Rental Housing Act allows you to ask those questions to your landlord, and you can also just be transparent with them. The reason why you're asking them is because he came across GraceNineteen, and maybe you can also explain to him how the rental deposit product works, and maybe your landlord might be interested to move the rental deposit wherever they have it. If they didn't invest it properly, maybe that would be an opportunity for them to do right by you and invest it properly in our platform. So yeah, they can move it across. So we can create investment accounts for deposits that have already been paid.
So how would you suggest for me to test if my landlord has actually invested my deposit? What would my first step be?
So
asking them for a statement?
Yeah, if it depends, obviously, people are different, but if it was me, I would, maybe email them or WhatsApp them, hey, I came across, GraceNineteen. This is quite interesting on how they look after rental deposits. I thought I should ask you where you invested my money and how is my interest looking. Can you provide me with a statement? And we have seen like honest landlords that have come to the platform, bringing the tenants that have already paid their rental deposit, coming to say, you know, I've came across your product and my tenant has already paid the deposit, but I've not invested it properly. Now I want to do it properly. Can you help me with creating the account? And we do that for them. So, yeah. So you can just start and see where the conversation go. But obviously, you know, like whatever answer you're gonna get from your landlord, it might not be a comfortable answer. Maybe they just don't give you a straight answer. But most landlords are honest people, so they'll probably be honest with you if they did it right or not. And yeah.
So what did you do before GraceNineteen?
I was a banker, so I worked in investment banking. You know, splitted my time fairly between the derivatives underwriting desk and also market risk.
Sounds like a lucrative career. So you abandoned it to go into business?
I wouldn't say like I abandoned it entirely. I mean, GraceNineteen is still a financial institution, so whatever, you know, I was doing in the bank, obviously it was more technical and all those kind of things. But in terms of what we do, you know, we're still like in the financial services industry. But yeah, in terms of the switch, I would say that during my time as a banker, I wanted to go back to school. So I didn't just leave banking, like, you know, to start the business. So it just started slowly where I went back to UCT to do a master's in corporate finance and valuations. I was enjoying the program a lot, and that's when I felt like maybe, so I took the time also to reflect on myself, on what I was passionate about, what I wanted to do next, and also like what I would like to spend most of my life doing. So starting the business was not the only thing that I looked at the time. I also considered doing another master's. So there was a master's in government that I wanted to do at Harvard. So that's one thing I wanted to do. The other thing, I just wanted to join an asset management business. And the third thing was to start the business, which was quite interesting actually, because this is a business idea that I had in 2016. And when I told my mentor back then, she told me that I was young, I needed to build my value around myself, you know, like build relationships and just enjoy banking and all that. So yeah, like 3 years later, when I moved back in Cape Town to do the master's, when I told her about it again, like, hey, this is one of the options that I'm considering in terms of doing this. What do you think? And that's when she's like, no, actually, I think now you like, you know, more grown and you're probably ready for it. So let's do it. So yeah. So that's when I started paying attention to studying the business. And also, you know, like it's quite difficult to transition from being like in my view, to transition between a corporate person into like entrepreneurship. So part of that transition, I needed like a lot of guidance and a lot of help, as much as I had the inspiration from my background. So yeah, my mentor would then say, you know, I arranged a meeting for you with the CEO of this company. Let's go, and then you're gonna pitch the business to them. So we'll sit into the boardroom together. I'll pitch, she's listening, taking notes. After that, we'll sort of like discuss it. And so that kept helping me to build the confidence that, you know, maybe this is like a great idea, I should probably pursue it. And most people we spoke to, they did tell us that it was a great idea, but obviously some people thought it was a not so good idea. But but I think, that's when I was convinced that this is something that I want to do. So yeah.
And you took the leap.
Yes, which was not easy also. I mean, leaving banking, so I resigned second half of 2021. My plan was to resign in 2020, but there was COVID, but it was nice. At the time, that's when I met my co-founder, Dr. Darren Brandon. And yeah, he also helped me to sort of like start transitioning my mind from being a banker to becoming an entrepreneur. Like, he taught me a lot of things in terms of what to expect, you know, most importantly, how to raise capital, you know, what kind of investors maybe I should be targeting and all those kind of things. So that's when I sort of like starting to see the entrepreneurship world, like what my life was gonna look like, being in a new business versus being in the bank. So I just gathered the courage after COVID settled, and then I resigned and moved into into building the business. Yeah.
And what is the thing you found most surprising from transitioning from working in an established bank to then starting your own business?
You make lots of assumptions, obviously. So into this, so you make lots of assumptions. And usually those assumptions are too ambitious. So, for an example, like some of the stuff that I found interesting in the transition was when I left banking. So I thought within 4 months I was gonna have like all the capital that I needed to build the business. I wanted to raise, I think, like 5 million in total as phase one. I mean, to build phase one of the business, and the reality is usually like different from what you had assumed or what you thought is going to happen. Then what I ended up doing in that period, so I had some money that I thought it was going to sustain me enough until I've raised some capital to start like getting like a bit of a salary in the business to continue living. But my money ran out before I concluded the first round of capital. But I had support, so I had people that believed in me. So like one guy believed in me so much that when my money ran out, he's like, "So how are you doing?" But he knew, like he had seen lots of young people starting new businesses. He had also invested in like lots of businesses. So I said, "No, I think I'm fine." It's like, "So do you still have money?" It's like, "No, I don't have any more." It's like, "So how are you gonna live and how are you gonna focus on the business?" But then it's like, "No, don't worry." So he gave me like 100,000 at first. He's like, "I'm giving you this money. You're gonna pay it back to me one day when you start making money." But I was like, "No, I'll pay it as soon as I start earning the salary. I can pay you back." But yeah, so that kept me going. But then again, my estimations were wrong, so I ran out of money again. Yeah. So it's like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you more money." Okay, but this time it was more sensitive. So I think he could see that I'm still focused because I needed to do like a lot of work, and there was a lot of learning in between. Like it's simple things, just putting a pitch deck together, building a well-interrogated financial model, and all those kind of things, like seeking investors, trying to get meetings with the investors, pitching the idea to them, and all that. So that was a lot of work, and sometimes you meet 10 investors or 20 investors, and maybe 2 of them are interested in having a conversation with you, and maybe they don't invest, or maybe one of them would invest, and all that. So it was a lot of things that were going on at the time. And when I ran out of money for the second time, that's when he called me again. It's like, "So how are you doing?" It's like, "No, I'm fine." It's like, "No, you don't sound like you're fine. What's wrong? Like, did you run out of money again?" It's like, "Yeah, I did." And it's like, "Okay, we're gonna keep trying." So here's more money. So he gave me another 80,000 rand, and then he said, "No, just look after yourself. It'll work out." And yeah. And then I think mid June 2022, that's when we started like getting investors coming into the business. We managed to raise some capital, so we raised about 1.6 million. That was enough to start. That was enough for us to start building the business, and yeah, we just started from there, and yeah, we've been at it since now.
So you would say determination is one of the key characteristics of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you have to be determined, but at the same time, you like want to push yourself. You have to be like persistent in what you're doing. You hear like a lot of feedbacks when you're speaking to investors, could be potential customer distribution partners and all that. And if you're not like persistent, and if you're not determined, some of the feedbacks can derail you, or where you can start feeling like maybe this won't work and I'm just wasting my time. But if you believe in yourself and you're persistent, so I think there's nothing you can do. Like, you can go through that. And one of the things that my co-founder taught me early was that people are going to say no, and especially like investors. And sometimes don't be discouraged when they say no, because sometimes they're saying no and then it's got nothing to do with you or to do with your business. Maybe they just don't see the opportunity, or their mind is somewhere else. Your job is to find the investor that is interested, that sees the opportunity, because that's the right investor that you want. Because not only that, they'll give you money, but they'll also help you to build your business in terms of giving you ideas, introducing you to other investors, and that's what we see. Yeah.
So you found your investors, You have a team of people that you're working with and that you trust, a talented team. What's next for Grace19? What do you hope it'll do in the South African landscape?
Yeah, I think obviously at the moment is to perfect our product offering. There are things that since we launched, we listen to the customers, we take the customer feedback, and we keep implementing that feedback. So sometimes maybe it's just about how the platform works. It could be about the structure of the product and all that. So I think we in that phase where we perfecting like everything at the moment, and obviously identifying other opportunities that could make our customers' lives easier. Obviously that is in line with our vision for the business. And yeah, in terms of what is next, I think we now in a scaling phase. So we want to start scaling our business, grow it and see like what other opportunities will come out of it. And yeah.
So in your role now, what is it that you enjoy most about it?
Yeah, each time I think I get an opportunity to speak with our customers, I really like that. So I enjoy that the most, like just providing customer support, hearing the customer speak, could be interacting with them like on WhatsApp. So that fulfills me like a lot. The other part is like I love being around my team. Like I always learn, we get like really talented people in the business. So they always teach me something new. Could be like technology, which is things that I really didn't know before. So yeah. So I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been very interesting. Thank you for your time.
No, thanks, Ria.